You're watching Leicester Till I Die TV with Chris, Craig, Scott, Brad and Mark. Leicester Till I Die, now available on Spotify.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here. Now be sure to watch Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV by subscribing on YouTube and following them on social media for all the latest Leicester City news and information. Come on you foxes!
Hello, fellow Fox fans. How are we? Just excuse me 1 second. I'm just having a look round just to see if I can actually find the real Leicester, because I don't know where they are. But welcome along. It's the post-match show on Leicester Till I Die TV, and my jokes don't get any better, I'm afraid. We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're all over the place. If you are watching us on Facebook, please click on the StreamYard link so that when you make a comment, and we'd love to hear your comments, we really want to have your thoughts on the performance. If you can say anything without swearing, just click on the StreamYard link. It brings your name up. YouTube Live, yep, we're on there as well. Leicester Till I Die TV. You can watch us live or even watch us on Catch Up. And talking of Catch Up, we can be found on YouTube. We can be found on Spotify, Apple, and your favourite podcast app. So there we go. How was it? It was bad, but I'm trying to sort of keep it in. But I've got a couple of buddies tonight. We've got my usual post-chat chum, Brad, and we're going to be bringing him in a second. And we've got special guest this evening as well that's joining us.
It's the post-match show with special guest, ex-Fox Julian Watts.
Yes, it is. So we'll get tonight's reaction from an ex-player, but let's bring them in, and first of all say good evening to Brad. Good evening, Brad.
Well, I don't know what's good about it, but evening.
Well, I was about to say I use good advisedly. And let's bring Julian in as well. I'll leave the good off for you, Julian, and just say evening. Oh, can you hear me, Julian? You got me. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Evening, Julian, by the way.
You're all right, Brad.
Yeah, not too bad.
We lost 2-1. Typical. I hope you guys saw the goal, because I didn't, because I was off having a pee at the time. They always say things happen when you nip to the toilet. Maybe I should have sat on the toilet for 90 minutes. And I don't think it was the fact necessarily that we lost, but it was the performance. I mean, I've written so many things down here, like I say, with the real Leicester stand-up, who was the bottom of the table team, even the crowd stimulation noise on Sky had gone quiet on us. That's how bad it was. And of course, no plan B. Was there even a plan A? Can you explain that at all, Julian?
I think overall it looked like Scott Parker really got his tactics right. He's obviously done his homework, nullified everything that's good about what we do. For instance, Vardy was so far away from the ball and we couldn't get in behind them because they were quite deep. And then we were relying on Pratt and Maddison to get into the hole centrally, which they never really did. I think the odd time that Maddison got there, I remember him turning and having a shot in the first half, but definitely didn't do it enough and didn't really look hungry to get on the ball. And we didn't use the wide lads, the two wing backs as much as we should have done. And I perhaps felt they should have been higher up the pitch because we looked very pedestrian with the ball. We were passing it far too slowly and we couldn't really penetrate them. They looked just to soak that up. And when they had the chance to press, they did really aggressively, won the ball back and hit us on the break. And it was successful right through the match.
It was. And I'm just going to bring in a comment here from Ryan on YouTube. Why you play three at the back is crazy. Not even Josie, the most defensive, plays in three at the back at home to Fulham. I always hear Perez has got to come back into the side. I didn't see that bad, but he followed that up. And this one is especially for you here, Brad. Perez
yes, I know that is as well. And Shay's comment is a pain in the arse. I can get away with saying that.
You can get away with arse tonight. I mean, yeah. I was watching the game, Brad, and I made a few notes here that sort of in the first 10 minutes we had 70% of the possession, and when they scored, it was very much against the run of play.
Yeah, but if someone can just hand me the rule book, the last time I checked, possession might be classed as 9/10 of the law, but it means sod all in football. You score goals, you win games. And until the 83rd minute, I don't remember the keeper having anything to do apart from pick the ball out of his net when Barnes scored. So yes. I don't care if we had 99% possession. Fulham scored 2 goals, we scored 1. I don't. Stats bore me because they're irrelevant come the result. The result is what's important. It doesn't matter how you get it. It doesn't matter we had 70% possession. Do we get a point for 70% possession? No, we don't. We get 0 points because we scored 1 and they scored 2. I don't like possession, and I agree with Julian. The first half was very, very lethargic, and I think a few fans that maybe haven't gone full rage and have maybe had a drink or whatever before to calm down have said that maybe, and it's not an excuse, it's the truth, and if you want to call it an excuse, fine, every other club's allowed it, so I'm using it, but maybe the numbers game of injuries and, the delay in expected returns and the fixture list has slowly caught up with us, because before our last 3 results, bear in mind one of them was defeat to Liverpool, the reigning champions, and in the last couple of years, European winners, the last 3 games, before them 3 games, we'd won 6 and no one was batting an eyelid to our injured players. So let's put that in the context tonight. I'm not saying the excuse is the bad performance, but let's put that in the contents of things that were out of control tonight that we couldn't handle and may have played a part in such a lacklustre performance.
It was lacklustre, and I know what you're saying about stats, but we have to look at the stats, otherwise we probably wouldn't have as much to talk about. We could have, Julian, had we got it right tonight, we could have gone back up to second. Well, if we'd have beaten them 6-0, we'd have gone back to the top. And when they announced that before the game, I was suddenly thinking, oh, Southampton again, here we go. A draw would have kept us in 4th. The loss kept us in 4th. Missed opportunity.
It is, and another thing that you need to look at is the chances. So while we didn't create much tonight, the one time that it was James Justin got in, he actually made quite a forceful run, got the free kick, and we perhaps should have scored, and that would really nullify Fulham's game plan, which was to sit back, because if we're winning, they've got to come and do something eventually. So it puts us then on the front foot, and again, that was a big moment in the game because. As we've already alluded to, we probably created that chance and maybe 1 or 2 more at the most and put 1 away. But that was a crucial point in the game for us. And like I say, put that in and it could have been a different story altogether.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, I know this will probably wind Brad up, but, at half time, we'd had more shots, but less on target. And, the whole, I was watching it, obviously, as we all were, Brad, and we just didn't. That final ball just wasn't finding a blue shirt. We played some nice, as we always seem to say, we do tippy tappy football, and then there was no end product there. I think Vardy didn't get to this first touch till the 25th minute.
Yeah, and it's all good having pretty passing football, but it's pretty ugly on the other side if it's not going anywhere. And tonight it just didn't go anywhere. It got to a final third, and it was almost as if I think we confused Fulham with our tactics, as they lined up exactly like a team with before this game had 4 points. Right? Let's get that one out there for the fans that want to make that point, that we lost to a team that had 4 points. Sorry, I've just seen that West Ham are, I think, 1-0 up against Villa. So there's another potential shock on the cards considering Villa's position. So I feel a bit better. But you'd have thought they were probably going to be. We knew they were going to be on the defensive. It was very strange for me that we went with a back line of 3. That was been a lot of cries from a lot of my friends that I talked to during the game, along with yourself, Chris. And I did think it was strange. I know I said I wouldn't question Brendan's tactics, but I think tonight he got the line out structurally wrong. I don't, because when Fuchs was playing as a left back, when Thomas came off, he looked a lot more sound than he did in the first half. And in that first half, he got absolutely tore apart. And that really cost us as well, I think. I think for all it's nice and pretty, it's pointless and gets a bit boring. At some points in that first half, I was like that. Because I was like, and he's going to pass it there, and he's going to go left, and then he's going to go back to Mendy. If I can sit here and predict the next 3 or 4 passes, what do you think Fulham were doing? A professional footballer, a manager on the sidelines are going to tell his players. I could see the next 3 or 4 passes. So they could. You don't play against a team that's struggling for form and getting. Yes, they've been brilliant. They were good against Everton, and they were unlucky in the end, probably the way. Well, from what I saw of the game, anyway. I don't know what they were like before they got themselves into that position, but they've shown they've got the ability to get goals. So they were going to, at some point, want to attack us. And we just never, we made it too easy for them. And the damage for me was done in that first half.
It's always, I mean, at 2-0 down, I virtually thought, and looking at the way we were playing, it was possibly game over. Now, I've got a question coming up for Julian, so I'm going to, from somebody that's watching, so we're going to come to that as a second, Julian. But Brad, I mean, I was watching that as, how can I say, as a fan, even sort of 80 minutes, 2-0 down, there just seemed to be no urgency. We just seemed so lackluster. And somebody's put here, is the Europa League taking its toll on us? Because I was watching that and we were, say, 2-0 down, 10 minutes to go. And the Leicester of old that I grew up with, we'd be throwing the kitchen sink at them.
Oh,
sorry, that's for Brad, yeah.
Oh, sorry, Julian. I mean, Julian... I'll be quick, so Julian can probably jump in on this answer as well. I think the thing is something I've already stressed, is as much as people might have pointed out with, and you probably got it to bring up later, so I won't talk too much about it, the penalty that was given against us. You know, a lot of people came at me, only friendly, it was nothing vicious like some people might get for it, giving me stick saying, well, it's about time you got one against you. But that was the softest decision ever. Well, it was just one of them. It was just so infuriating to watch. I mean, I've just lost my train of thought while I was going. I'm absolutely knackered. But it was like watching paint dry as well at times. So I'll let Julian answer this question. I've got that one was actually for you, Brad. I've got one for Julian here that was actually you. Yeah, sorry. I think it's just a delay on the chat. But Julian, I've got a question here for you from Craig, who does the Tuesday night show with me. As a central defender, how difficult is it to play in the 3 rather than the 2, as our wide central defenders consistently got pulled out wide to cover the wing backs?
Don't know if that's a good one for me to answer. I think as I was playing, started at Wednesday and did the same at Leicester and the same at Luton. The back 3 was really coming into the game at that time. I think Liverpool had sort of started it off. I don't know if it was under Julia or someone like that. They brought in the back 3, and then all of a sudden it became a bit of a trend like some of the formations we see now. But I was very fortunate that I was always the centre of the back 3, and I hated playing either side of the centre, because you're absolutely right. Your wing backs are pushed up a little bit, and you can feel quite isolated at times you're supposed to be, there's a spare man in the middle, but you were supposed to be covering him as well, and looking over your shoulder. It's quite a difficult sort of position to play. But I mean, in the modern game these days, even the back fours, they have the full backs pushed on quite a lot. So modern day centre halves need to have quite a bit of pace and awareness to manage with how the managers want them to play. But as the question is, I would say, yeah, it is quite difficult playing either side.
Yeah, and going back to you, Brad, again. I mean, looking at that team that we
trying to forward. Sorry,
that's okay, not a problem. But looking at the team that we started with, it didn't, it didn't look too bad a team. It looked quite, well, as best as we can with the players we've got available. And I just want to bring up a point that you made to me before the game, is there was no sign of Castagna again. And, you made a point. Do you want to bring that point up again? Because I think it was a very good point that you made.
Yeah, and I think I made the point before against Braga. It's a bit strange if someone's supposedly as fit and as ready as Castagna has supposed to have been now for a good couple of weeks, while, we know we're probably better suited to attacking football. It's quite clear. And I know we have been able to, and probably would do a better job at times, to have a back three with when it's solely Evans, Fofana, and Sayuncu there when they're all three fit. But Justin has played a lot more games than he's probably expecting for his age and his development. He was probably brought in to be an understudy to Ricardo. Thomas was rushed in with injury to Ben Chilwell next season, and we knew we was going to lose Ben Chilwell. It wasn't obviously a certainty, but we was going to lose him at some point. Fuchs can do a job for a certain amount of games, and I think the way the fixture list was stretched, I was just surprised he wasn't there as an option, because we saw against Braga, they looked a bit lethargic, and tonight they were lethargic. And when you go into play three at the back and you're asking your wing backs to push forward, and you've got someone like Christian Fuchs out there, who did a sturdier job in the second half, don't get me wrong, but I would have preferred to have seen someone like a Castagna running at them and give Justin that freedom, because it just seemed a bit stifled on the left. Even the commentators of where I was watching it were saying Leicester need to stop going down the left because they're just stifling their own attack. They need to get the ball out to Justin. And I just think, maybe there was a few players on there that if they're so ready to be there, we allow the likes of Vardy and Fofana, who gratefully came on and changed the game against Braga in midweek, to get a rest but be on the bench, break glass in case of emergencies, as the saying is. Well, why wasn't Castagna and players like that there tonight? 20 minutes, 15 minutes would have done them the world of good, especially if we'd have got that goal 10 minutes earlier. Fulham are that sort of team where it wasn't until the 83rd minute, like I said, when we got the goal, that all of a sudden the kitchen sink, the goalkeeper and the backroom staff was getting thrown up front.
Yes.
Which was bizarre.
I think if we brought the backroom staff on, we might have actually got something. But Julian, again, as a defender, and I'm going to put you on the spot here. I mean, Ryan sort of said here, I mean, you kind of knew with the penalty, once it went to the ref going over to look at the monitor at the side of the pitch, it was going to be given. I think everybody's heart sunk at that point. And, the commentators on Sky were sort of saying, yes, they thought it was a penalty. I mean, it was it harsh, or was it it looked a little bit harsh to me.
I just think in the modern game, it's a penalty. And I don't agree with it necessarily, but I think about 10, 15 years ago, professional footballers commentating started to say things like, there was contact, therefore he had the right to go down. And when I'm seeing fellow pros say that, I just think the it's going the wrong direction, and it's been going in the wrong direction ever since. And I watch games now and see tackles that are perfectly acceptable and much harder tackles in my day. That was just a great tackle, and and this all about following through. Of course, you followed through. A sliding tackle, you got the ball, the man took the lot, put him over the touchline, and winked him, into him as you ran off.
Yeah.
If you do that now, it's a yellow, possibly a red, and it's the game's changed completely. And I'm all for the safety of the players, but I don't think it was that bad in our day. It was just good, honest football, and the more you take it out, and it's going to get worse still. It's going to get absolutely worse still when you've got the likes of Platini wanting to ban tackling from football, and that you can see that one day though. But that is the direction we've started sort of over here, and it's moving that way. And it's going to get worse and worse, unfortunately. So, in my day, that wasn't a pen. It wasn't even a consideration. When they just told him to get up. But today, it definitely is a pen, unfortunately.
I mean, I think their play. I mean, when I saw it, I've got to be honest with you, the first thing that went through my mind was that's one that Vardy would have gone down for. Yeah. And I think had it been the other end, I definitely would have been screaming for the penalty.
I mean, there was a classic one in the, I don't know if it was the second half, where even the commentator mentioned it. Maddison sort of jinked, gone past the player, brushed him and gone down. And even the commentator said he's barely touched him, but it's a free kick, and we'd have all been screaming for a free kick. So, you can't have it one way and then not the other, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I think somebody's asked. I mean, again, this is a very good point that somebody's put up, and I'll throw this out to you, Brad. And I just, I think Fuchs is getting a lot of stick here, and Fuchs has played more games in this season than he's played in the previous 2 seasons put together. And at the end of the day, maybe he didn't need to make the tackle. I think, as I say, their player ran into him, but he's not a young player. He's an old player. He's got the head on him. He knows what he's doing, and I don't think he went to. I don't think it was a rash challenge.
No, it's not, and I'll agree with Julian. And unfortunately, the way the football world is going, it is only by that status, the way the footballing world is going. Is it a penalty? Because I'm telling you now, being as I watched Julian play, and that's what I grew up watching, the likes of Watts, Elliott and Walsh when he was around and they were playing, they'd have laughed at him. Walsh would have probably laughed at him and picked him up and gone, get up, come on, what are you doing? And no one would have batted an eyelid. But now it's a penalty, and it's ridiculous to say it's a penalty, but it is by law. And if it had happened in our box, I'd have been laughing, because I was laughing when it was given. Because as soon as I knew it was getting checked, I was like, great, it's a penalty. I mean, don't get me wrong, I had a little bit more optimism with Fulham's record of penalties, but
yes, I said that it was a good. Unfortunately, it was a good penalty under pressure. That's Leicester for you. The Fulham piss poor at taking penalties all season. Play Leicester, and they suddenly produce a good one.
It's a bit harsh on Fulks. I need to put my teeth in today. I'm too knackered. I'll tell you, I've been working all weekend, and now tonight's put me in a bad mood. I can't speak.
It's the drink, Julian. I'll tell you. Don't believe him.
It's not water in our taps. I can tell you that much. Anyway, but the thing is, though, Fuchs isn't a natural out-and-out centre back. Now, if you'd have said today we had the options to, that's the hypothetical, and we did still line up with 3. That would have been Fofana's job, or that would have been Evans's job, or that would have been Soyuncu's job. Whether it was a back 3 or a back 2, that should never, under extreme circumstances, have to be Fuchs' job. Now, we've got 2 centre-backs, so I don't see a need for a third, because when you play 3 centre-backs, and I'm sure, Julian will agree on this, you play that one because you've got one that can break out. And Fofana likes to break out. And Fuchs likes to be told to push up and help support Thomas on that left because of his experience. But you can't have someone in the late 30s who hasn't got the legs to get to the halfway line and into our half and then chase back if we lose the ball, when you've also got another centre-back that likes to push on. You need to have the brains staying there and doing the job and let Fofana run out. Like like Maguire used to let Soyuncu run out when he was his partner, because he could get forward quicker. You need to have it organised, and that's why we can't play 3 at the back with Fuchs.
I'm just going to bring some comments in now. That one did make me laugh. I'll just bring it back up. Too many snowflakes in today's modern game. Well, let's move on from that one.
Questionable wording, but
not sure Walshy would agree with you after Speedy went over like a sack of spuds at Wembley. But again, once we signed him, of course, he was marvellous. Somebody says here, mentally weak. Somebody else saying here, it was a penalty all day long. Forget the penalty, we were garbage tonight and deserved nothing. I mean, this was it. Even without the penalty, we probably didn't deserve anything. And I've got to say hello to Matteo, a Fulham supporter, but you're welcome through gritted teeth, Matteo. Hard luck. Luck went our way tonight, but we were due some. We always say it's a marathon, not a sprint. Well done, Matteo. I mean, I've got to be honest with you, Matteo. Again, through gritted teeth, but you did deserve it. And I'm going to throw this one at Julian here, because I made this point earlier and I've lost it now. But we need somebody that can take corners and, free kicks. I mean, what's happened with Maddison? Free kicks, it's his speciality. I don't think one corner went to one of our players tonight.
No, and I think the last corner of the game when Schmeichel goes up sums the performance up, because it didn't. I think it was at the near post and it was a couple of feet off the floor. I think, again, modern game, they want to whip these balls in with so much pace, but there's only so many people can actually do it. So you're looking at your David Beckhams and people like that, and your Ward-Prowse and Southampton. They can do it with pace and they're fairly accurate. For me, the modern players need to take a bit of pace off and concentrate more on the accuracy, because you can literally say 7 or 8 times out of 10 we're not even getting past the first man at the front post, and that's a ridiculous stat when it's a set piece in your favour.
Yeah. Good afternoon. What am I saying? You got me at it now, Brad. Good evening. A lot of to Justin. A lot of a lot of passes went straight to Fulham. Mendy was shit, mind you. So were the rest of the team. I'm going to come on to man of the match at the moment, but like I say, we're struggling with the team we can put out sometime with Brendan, and we give him praise when he sort of gets it right. Tonight, the ratings that Alan gave them, I mean, he gave 4 to Brendan and 5 to the team. I'll go to Brendan first, to you, Brad, then I'll come on to you, Julian, with the team. Was that a 4 performance? I mean, I thought he probably deserved more than that, because he did make the subs early. Well, at half time, basically.
He shouldn't have had to make the subs. He should have known that was the team to put out in the first half. He should have seen what he was up against, known what they do, known where their frailties are. Every Tom, Dick and Harry knew their weaknesses. So for me, he'd have got a 0 in the first half because he got it completely wrong. And in the second half, he does redeem himself up to a 4. But then mistakes shouldn't have been in place. Fuchs is not a centre-back. We have 2 fit centre-backs. Play 4 at the back. Get us on the width. Get us numbers forward. That was what was wrong with the game. That's where we lost it on a very good and organised Fulham performance on top of that as well, may I add.
Yes, and we mustn't take anything away from Fulham. They came, they did a job. I mean, you can put the best team out in the world, and Maddison and Vardy were probably the 2 best players that we've got out there at the moment. Neither of them performed tonight. And once those players go over the white line, Brendan's, out of his control, really. All he can do is then make the changes, which he did. I mean, I just thought 4 was a little bit harsh, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but like I said, it would have probably been higher. I had that for. It's all well and good saying, the players have to go out and do a job. I will back it. I will back the fact that the players have to go out there and do their job. No arguments with that. But it was clear as day. The second he made them changes, structurally, tactically, and on that field, we were a better side. And yeah, sure, at that point when they're holding on to a 2-0 lead and we're playing a team that's won 1 game out of the first 8 or got 4 points somehow, we're sitting back 9 men behind the ball. I think at one point the commentator went, they've got 6. They got 6 at the back. They're playing a 6-3, and it was when Mitrovic came on. The commentator said Fulham are literally lining up 6 at the back, 3 in front of that, and then Mitrovic 90 yards up the pitch on his Todd. That's how a team plays when they get desperate down. And if we'd have gone at them and been attacking, even if they'd have played well, which they did, look, Fulham were probably the best looking side on that pitch and handled us the best out of all our defeats. I mean, Liverpool, they're a different class. You take Fulham's position and the quality they're lacking in comparison to your bigger sides like your Spurs, your Arsenals, your Man Cities. They've handled us the best tonight, even better than Villa and West Ham. And I'm sorry, we got the first half wrong and the damage was done.
Yeah. I'm just watching the time, so I'm going to move to Julian and go 5 for the team performance. Is that fair?
I think it probably is. It looks like Leicester. I mean, I spoke to you earlier, Chris, and as a player, you'd walk off tonight disappointed. If I could just nip one back and go to Brendan's performance, what I would like to see after 5 minutes, when we have got possession, but there's no point to that possession, is he should be screaming for them to do it quicker. It was so slow, it was predictable, and we didn't really move anybody around. And you've just got to get the tempo up, and a manager, for me, should be on there screaming at the players to increase that tempo. Which we never did all night, and that's why we were very, very easy to play against tonight. And again, that's something that as a player, you probably should, well, you'd recognise that. So as a player, when you're not, we talk again about possession, but I wonder how much of that possession was in our own half, which is again not going to create your chances. No. So yeah, it probably would be a fight for the team because they should really recognise that and be able to do something about it themselves.
I mean, the interesting, and I'm sorry for this, Brad, but there are stats to be looked at. At the end of the first half, a point really sort of backing up what Julian did. Fulham had 133 passes. We'd had 273, and yet we were 2-0 down. I mean, you can have all the possession, you can play this nice tippy-tappy football, Julian. Martin O'Neill, he wouldn't have, and Brian Little, they wouldn't have stood for a performance like that, would they?
No. I mean, Martin would have probably made a change first half. He was quite brutal, and 9 times out of 100 would be right. And I think I said in the last time I was on that we were 2-0 down against Chelsea in the cup and put Walsh up front, and we were so bare at the back. I think me and can't remember, I don't know if it was Spencer Pryor. It was literally just us that we got the ball. We went a bit more direct. We were hitting the big man, and he scores 2 goals. We draw 2-2. That's in the last 10 minutes, and we get a replay. And I think again last time he would rather lose 5 or 6-0 going for it than sit back and hold, and just lose 2-0 to keep a bit of pace. And that's the mentality of that team was quite different.
Okay, I'm going to ask just in one word, and we've still got a few points to get through. Just in one word, your man of the match, Brad. First of all.
I'm glad he asked you first, Brad.
Yes, yeah, cheers.
Well, I tell you what, have a think, because what I'm going to do, this was, and I kind of agree with Alan on this one, but this was who Alan went for man of the match. I mean, I think without Casper, we could have been looking at, I think, 4 or 5. He did pull off a couple of really good saves. Would you agree, Brad? Or and I must admit, I thought it was going to be one of those games where who do you pick for man of the match?
Well, it is, isn't it? It's who do you pick out of a bad performance? Again, we're speaking of it. It's like Liverpool again, but worse somehow. Sorry, Julian, but if you want to join me, you're more than welcome. I'm just gonna. I think I'm gonna take the easy option and go with Alan's one because I honestly can't think. Because the only thing that springs to mind is his save when it's 2-0 and Barnes' goal. Yeah. They're the only 2 things that I can think are positive to pick out a man of the match. So yeah, Schmeichel for me.
Yeah,
Schmeichel.
Yeah, going back to the possession word, if we've had 70% of the possession and our keeper gets to the man of the match, that just tells you something, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't get a point, like I said, lads, we don't get a point for 70% possession, so it doesn't bother me. You know what I mean?
No,
we don't.
We've proved that enough. We've proved enough.
There's one thing I throw at you guys because I don't watch them obviously as much as you guys do, and I'm quite a big fan of the young lad, and it's perhaps because the only time I've seen him play he's performed well. And for me, again, not probably knowing the team as well as you guys and watching them week in week out and seeing the substitutions and what have you, I would have kept the young lad on and took Fuchs off because I thought Fuchs was finding it really tough. Maybe he thinks he's a wing back and probably not ready to be a left back, which are more defensive duties. But I think still, when you're chasing a goal, I would have someone with a bit more pace and probably a bit more capability of getting forward and up and down the pitch. So that surprised me. So you guys might tell me that he's had a couple of games where he's not performed, but for me, I think he's a great prospect and someone I'd be really pushing at the moment.
Go on, Brad.
I'd back that. I'd back that because I said it and kind of backing that point. What's the point in having a defensive-minded player on when you're 2-0 down? And I said that, and I felt like I'd gone psychic because no sooner as I said it than 2 minutes later, because I was referring to Mendy being on the pitch. I mean, don't get me wrong, I actually don't think Mendy had that bad a game. I don't know what mistake, he gets a lot of criticism, but I don't actually think he did too much wrong. But when you're 2-0 down, I was thinking, why is he on the pitch? Not because he's having a bad game, but because he's not needed. And lo and behold, 2 minutes later, one of the commentators, through the way I was watching the game, went, I'm not I think it was when Iheanacho came on. He said, I'm not surprised it's Mendy that's come off because he's been all right, but you're 2-0 down at home. You don't need a defensive midfielder on the pitch. And going back to Julian's point when he was on about not hearing the manager, I don't know if it was just before or if it was when we actually did go to 2-1. That was the first time I actually heard Brendan Rodgers on the sideline. And so, Julian makes the point that it kind of coincided with the effort seemed to go up once we had once we were throwing a bone and scrapped a goal, because it weren't just the players, it was the manager. And that's a little bit concerning. Like Julian says, it's a bit concerning as a player, especially with the current climate where you can hear every word that's being said. You're 2-0 down and you've got a manager doing this. I mean, I remember James Justin's shot and the camera panned to his face and he was like, as if to go, why are you wasting that shot? Not to swear on while we're live, but I know a certain manager would have been going, what the effing hell are you effing doing? If you do that ever again, I'm going to effing drag you off and put some effer else on to do it for me. Because that was ridiculous shooting.
I mean,
nothing.
We never had any idea what Martin O'Neill was saying, but whatever it was, he was always very passionate about it, and I think that's what you loved. And no, we probably didn't want to hear. But let's just go. We've got a lot of comments here just for me to catch up on. Grealish is quickly overshadowing Maddison in the game. He's not looked as, I don't think, for me, Maddison, since he's come back. He's not the Maddison of old, but, you've got to give him a chance to maybe sort of play himself back into the game.
Just a quick one on Maddison. 2 goals and 2 assists since December 2019 was a stat that was put forward after the game. He's not been on form for a while, even with that injury before it.
No. But like, well, fingers crossed, we know what he can do. We need another Steve Guppy. Hey, I was always a big Steve Guppy fan. I love Steve Guppy. But we've got Mark Albrighton.
We've got Barnes. His scoring's getting better. He's got 5 goals this season out of his 13 in his career.
But I think when I saw, I mean, I wasn't impressed. I was glad Iheanacho came on, and Iheanacho for Mendy was. It was a statement of intent that we were going for it, but I don't know what you think, Julian. Iheanacho doesn't. I don't think great. He's going to bring him up and go for it, and he didn't, did he? He's kind of very lackluster player. Iheanacho.
When you talk about the squad, not so much about the injuries and what have you, but when you talk about the squads and especially the bigger teams, Man United brought on Cavani yesterday. Who scored 2 goals, and they came from, we bring on Iheanacho. So no disrespect to the lad, but, they've got to back up something as good on the bench, whereas he's just probably up and coming and not quite where, he needs to be, which is the reason he's not starting. And, like I say, the bigger teams have got the capability of bringing someone in who literally will change the game.
Yeah, we are the least creative team when it comes to dead ball situations. I can't argue with that. I always say to my son, the other team's happy if we get a corner because they know we're not going to do anything with it. Grealish is making Maddison look like Damari Gray. Yeah,
that's harsh. There's no need to abuse him like that.
When you look at tonight, I'm thinking like Harvey. I mean, when Harvey Barnes came on, I thought, great, he's going to run at the because that's obviously what he was brought on for. It didn't happen. I mean, I don't think Damari Gray would have given a worse performance than tonight, to be honest with you. Larry, good evening, Larry. Oops, and it's gone there. Let me just bring that back in. Basically, 2 games in a week that Brendan has made double substitutions at half-time. This at the back not working properly. What's the one here? Let's beat Sheffield United and Brighton, get a point at Spurs, and let's just go for the Europa as well, keep the faith. I mean, I get obviously the keep the faith and Foxes never quit and all that, but we're saying let's beat Sheffield United and Brighton. Literally 4 or 5 days ago, somebody posted after the Liverpool defeat, well, we've got some easy games coming up now. It didn't look that easy this evening, did it, against the equivalent of Sheffield United and Brighton?
Well, and Brighton drew with Liverpool, so they're not that easy, are they?
No, they're not. Sorry about this, guys. It's going very slow. Brendan overthinks team selection far too often and concentrating on stopping the opposition rather than on our strengths. Let me throw that one to Julian.
I don't know if that. I think Brendan's just got a way of playing and he sticks to it, which is why he stuck to the formation. I saw someone post up a question earlier about why do they play one striker. It's quite common in modern day football, very common in fact, although 1 or 2 are now going back to 2 strikers. So, he just believes with the players he's got, the squad he's got, who fits into which positions, that's his, his best lineup. And, he's a clever guy and a great coach, So, after a bad result, they can all sit here and criticise, but he works with these guys day in, day out, and this is what he sees as his best option. And unfortunately, at the moment, it's not working. And as you said, with the games coming up, we spoke about it before we came on air, Chris, and, is it the teams that, like the Fulhams and the Sheffield Uniteds, who are going to be more cautious, that we find difficult to break down? Because to be fair, tonight, we just couldn't break them down. We didn't have anything. And, like Harvey Barnes might have been a better option. Get him out wide, give him the ball, see if he'll have a run at them. But what they did tonight is in a back 4, but doubled up. And like you say, so when they had the 6 at the back, they were literally doubling up with it, with the fullbacks, making them very difficult and very, hard to get by. So, like I say, the formation's what it is. That's what he sees as the best, but it might need a few tweaks. And if there's a few players coming back, there might be an improvement quite quickly. And hopefully we can get over the line at Sheffield United, who are really struggling at the moment, and things will look a lot better.
And you mentioned, well, we talked before we came live, Julian, and you're saying as a player, and there's sometimes you just, I mean, we've all done it, whatever job we're doing, we don't, I used to be in sales and I didn't have a great sales day every single day of the week, every time I turned up. We do have off days, and as a player when you have, but you'd still get a bollocking off the manager though, wouldn't you?
Oh God, we definitely would. And I just think, like, sometimes, like, you watch the game tonight and it looks like the players aren't trying, and believe me, they are. It just Fulham had all the answers to all the questions. We didn't ask that many questions, if I'm honest, but the questions we did ask, they had the answers, and it makes it look lethargic, makes it look like people can say they weren't trying. They were trying, but you would come off that game knowing that you were second best and that you perhaps you'll have felt you'd have left something out there. And that was the difference when we had Martin in charge, because he literally just threw players forward and didn't give a monkeys about what happened at the back. If we conceded 2 or 3 going for it, he didn't care. But if we win, go and have a go, and the fans appreciated that as well, because to them it just looked like we were 100% all going for it. I think at that period of the team, that's what the fans really liked about us. However, we were winning, losing, whatever. Yeah, it always looked like we were giving 100%. And I know we did have some bad games in that era, but more often than not, you could see that we'd roll the sleeves up, we'd get stuck in, we'd put the tackles in, win the headers, and if we lost, it was generally someone was a bit better than us. That's all.
I mean, I can remember, and I think I mentioned this. I don't know, it might have been with Craig or it could have been with Brad, when we have the Great Escape year. And we weren't losing by, it was 1-0, 2-0, 2-1s and what have you. But, the players were giving everything every week. And I don't think Nigel Pearson would have settled for anything less. And I'm not saying Brendan would, but like you say, I think we didn't go mad at that team because we knew that they were, giving everything that they could. But Brad, bringing the point up that Julian made there, we've got a lot of players literally due back any time now. We mentioned Castagna. We know Pierre has had a run out. Are we panicking too soon?
I mean, just as fans get overexcited when we win games like we do, you kind of hit the nervous button when you lose. It's part and parcel of being a football fan and football in general. And look, I mean, maybe Rodgers should have maybe just kept it a bit tight-lipped, because it was the first time I've ever heard him mention a player's name and address the situation that he's ready and get the fans expectant of an earlier return than what it was. The way he did, because he's unlike Brendan Rodgers. He's normally very tight-lipped, but maybe Brendan Rodgers was hoping, because I mean, I know we've talked about it a lot and you've mentioned it a few times in the last coming games. Christian Fuchs, and I hate to circle him out, but I have to, because maybe with his age, he probably came into the season thinking the games he's played now, he probably would be happy to have featured over the stretch of a season, let alone in the first 10 games of the season. And that's, that's excluding the Europa League fixtures as well that he's had to play in. He probably wasn't expecting this much football. And I just think at the wrong time, he's probably caught us going. And maybe tonight, the only reason I can see that he didn't bring Castagne in isn't just a case of not wanting to rush a player back, because him and Ricardo, and I know Ricardo, he got some minutes at the under-23, did he not?
Yeah, so about 60 minutes, I think he got, yeah.
Yeah, so he was more than match ready, in my opinion, as someone of his quality. I know it was a long injury, and maybe that's why, but maybe it was more the case of we played a team tonight that was feeling like we did in that Great Escape. They were getting beaten, but not maybe the results that they, deserved. They shot themselves in the foot with that disastrous Panenka penalty. They missed a penalty against Everton. And they haven't maybe got the results that performance warranted. They didn't want them being a bit, with the grip between the teeth, going in hard on a returning Ricardo, on a returning Castagne, and no disrespect to the Ukrainian side, because I'm not going to butcher the name. I told you that the first time we played them. The Ukrainian side that we play, he's thinking that would be more of an easier test because of our situation in that.
Yeah.
I know we want to win the group, but I think it's more the fact that we've qualified. We've got through the banana skin group, because as kind as it was to us, you still have to beat what's in front of you.
Yeah.
And it gives them a chance to give them players 60 minutes, 70 minutes. And still be fresh enough for Sheffield United.
I must admit, I did. I think this is probably why I had to go to the toilet. And you mentioned and I can never say that word, but the chip penalties. And I think, Julian, you watched Sky as well, and they said that horrible word that always sends a shudder down my back, Kermigrant. we always remember that penalty against Cardiff, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. If you're going to do it, it's got to go in. I remember, can't remember the lad, Liam Lawrence, who did it, and he was playing for Mansfield, I think, in a playoff final, or sort of. It was a big game for the club. It's quite local to me, Mansfield, and it was it was the penalty shootout afterwards, and it is dropped onto the roof of the net. And I was watching the TV, and I thought his manager now is going to be absolutely raging when the stakes are so high. And I know, I was in a penalty shootout myself as a young lad, and I was the only player not to take a penalty, because I was absolutely shaking. It's a nerve-wracking sort of place to be in, but there's got to be better options when the pressure is so high than that.
That said, though, you pull it off, and you're the best thing since sliced bread. You're suddenly Pele when you manage to pull it off. And I can remember playing for my work side once, and I missed the deciding penalty as well. But that was only because I blasted it into sort of row Z, But Guy here, sort of just a few more comments. I understand we can't win every game. For God's sake, we should be beating teams like Fulham. On paper, yes, but we don't play games on paper. And my worry is, and either of you come in on this one, whoever wants to, we've lost against Liverpool, and some guy said this should have been the game that we came back and got that out of a system, they're getting back on the bike, and it hasn't. We are away to Zoya Luhansk. I keep saying that because it's the only one of those sort of teams I can actually pronounce. It's not going to be easy. They got a 3-0 win over Athens last week. if we don't get anything out of that, suddenly it's 3 losses on the bounce, and doubt starts to get in.
Yeah, so I mean, it is that case, and then you go away there and win, and it changes it totally. Obviously, results change everything. And, right now, I think, I mean, for me, the Liverpool, they are fantastic, as Brad alluded to earlier. But I still felt in that game we didn't really get close to them. We didn't really lay a glove on them, and I still thought that was a little bit standoffish. And I'd like to see us in the face, although it is difficult because they are such a great team and such amazing top three, and even the rest of the team. But then, like you say, you follow that up with tonight, and that becomes then very disappointing because, as the guys just said, we should be, if we're a top 6 team, which, currently we are, but we haven't. And so then the next result becomes a bit more important, and the result after, and the result after. And, it can damage everyone's confidence before they're even out on the pitch. It can change your mindset in how you go about the game and how you play the game. Such a massive thing in football, especially these days, confidence. So, hopefully that won't be the case, and they'll go and get a decent result. And that will go back, nicely into the Premier League.
I mean, wouldn't Brad ever want to sort of take away the fact that we won the Premier League, but having won the Premier League, fans' expectations went up, mine included, massively. And every season now, we finished, 5th last season. We expect to be back up there, and it's not always, going to happen. I mean, and Justin has just said he works on the building site the site. Presumably building site. Sorry, Justin, if it's not. I'm working on his Fulham, Man United and Tottenham knobs. Not looking forward to tomorrow. But that said, we are still Leicester. We haven't got a huge squad to start with. We know our injury problems second only to Liverpool, and you've got Klopp screaming for 5 substitutions. We're still sitting there 4th. We've still qualified for Europe. And when you let the first half an hour, 40 minutes after we've lost the game settle and look at the bigger picture, it was a loss. It happens. We're not going to win every game just because we finished 5th last season.
No, that's true. I mean, and let's also remember we went on a very barren run when we won the league. I mean, we drew 0-0 with Bournemouth. We drew 0-0 with Man City. I think we even drew with Villa on a season that they went down trying to beat Derby County's record. We draw with Villa at their ground. Mahrez missing a penalty. That might have been a season after, but I know we played it. We played we've played a few games where we've lost to teams that we shouldn't have lost to in respect to on paper. So maybe it's just the fact that people are looking more at the fact that we haven't won in 3 rather than who we've played. I know Fulham isn't, with the greatest respect, up there as a team, and we are probably expecting to beat more times than not a team in that sort of area with the difference in quality. But at the same time, there's going to be results that have already happened this season, and you're going to see more of them this season, where you're going to see an upset. You're going to see a team beat somebody or get a result they're not expecting. Villa 7, Liverpool 2.
Well, I was going to say,
Liverpool 1.
Especially this season, because this is the strangest of strangest seasons. And I don't think you probably would agree, possibly Julian, this season, I wouldn't like to predict any game. Because I know we always say anybody can beat anybody on the day, but this season, with everything that's gone on, is just totally bonkers, isn't it?
It is, and the mindset going out the first few times when they played in an empty stadium must have been, normally for me that meant it was a reserve game. So it's a total different energy to that game. But I mean, I think going back to the expectations, that season that we won the league, I mean, Man United, Man City, Arsenal, all really underperformed, and it should, probably should have been Tottenham's great year, and we were the flying the ointment on that. So that was a funny season in itself as well, where you normally get 1 or 2 of the top teams not performing through the season, but there were 3. In that season. And even though we won the league and it was fantastic, there's still such a gulf between, Leicester City and your Arsenals and your Man. Financially, we all know that. But I think we sort of expected the gulf to narrow a little bit quicker, and it hasn't really. And neither should we have expected it to. But you do get, excited. And, I remember looking back at that season, everyone will have had a different point in that season where they thought, God, we're actually going to do this. some crazy people. It might have been really early for me.
Yeah.
You know, I think it was way after Christmas. All of a
Oh.
sudden, you know, it was maybe March time. Thinking, right, we're going to do this, and you know, obviously we finished strongly in the rest of history. So, yeah, expectations would have gone up a lot, but there is still a huge gulf there. And I would say, you know, even now with a good structure at the club and the recruitment program that they've got, it would still, for me, be a minimum of another 5 years before we, if everything went okay and went right, say, or could compete with those top clubs, because they've all had a big influx of money, been able to spend it quite well. Klopp's a great manager. You know, Pep's a great manager. Arteta looks like he might be a great manager. Mourinho's been there and done it, whatever you think of him. So they've had a quick head start with a big influx of cash. We're slightly different to that, but we can get there. But it's definitely going to take a bit more time than I think a lot of the supporters would like to think.
And I think, Brad, you made a very good point earlier that, you know, I think we're punching above our weight at the moment with the players that we have available. And, you know, we don't know if it would have been better, worse, same, whatever, had we had our normal full squad of, you know, first choice players out there. And maybe it is just now a step too far, and we need to get, and obviously we can't rush them back any quicker than they can be brought back, but we do need to get our players, you know, our good players, that's being very demeaning to those that are there, but our first choice players back as soon as possible.
Yeah, I think that's always the case, and I think it goes back to a point that Julian made earlier, and that is that it's sometimes you can defend the quality of your players, your Fuchses, your Mendes, your Justins, etc., that step up and have to step in for a while like they have. But eventually that is going to tell you toll. And I've made this point before and I'll stand by it. We're in that development stage. We are what you call a work in progress. We remind ourselves of when Julian was playing in the 90s, you probably say that we probably remind us of Chelsea back then when they were just creeping in, but maybe their fans back then started putting a bit more emphasis on them becoming a top 4 side when they were sort of finishing in around the top 8, top 6. And I think maybe more this season, and with what happened last season, the fans are slowly managing themselves back down to, okay, maybe top 4 isn't an immediate goal, but that's the new long-term goal. We kind of got to do what your Chelseas, your Spurs, and your Liverpools have done in the last 10 to 20 years before us. We're now that team. It's like a passing of the torch. We're the team now, along with a few others that have been delved of the responsibility to make it competitive and start challenging at first. You know, you can't get to the finish line. You can't beat the horse over the finish line unless he flings you. So, you know, that Premiership winning season, as great as it was, we were flung off the horse straight to the finish line and won the race. Now we're back on the horse. We've got to keep a steady pace and build on it. We got Europa League last season. Forget how we got it. We got Europa League. Brilliant. Let's do well in the Europa League. Let's get a top 7 finish, and I'll still be happy come end of season.
Yeah.
But Julian's very right. We are still a good 10 years away on a good roll from being up at their level.
As they always say, when you get talking about football, the time passes, and we've been on nearly an hour already. Somebody, I don't know who this is. I have a feeling it might be Mrs. Twigger or Mrs. Ahern going Brad for PM. He's got the hair for Boris Johnson, hasn't he? And a message for you here, Julian. And I don't think this is from. This is a clean one this week, so you're safe. But
Mrs. Watts is fine.
Great to see you settling in Leicestershire, Julian. Once a fox, always a fox. Yes, we never let you get away. This is Brett. Hi, Brett. So good evening, Brett. How are you doing? Very, very, very quickly, because like I say, we are coming up to the hour, and I'm going to need a little room again in a minute. We got Stoke away in the FA Cup. Is that a blessing, or I mean, you know, again, it's a game you look at on paper and should win. Very, very briefly, is it winnable?
I think
you. Yep.
no, it's definitely winnable. And again, this is, you're not sure what the manager's thinking. Does he, the players that we want him to come back in, does he, go with the team and introduce a few of them back in and think, the long-term Premier League and Europa is more important than that? I'm not sure. Or do you put your strongest team out because we've got a great opportunity to win a cup? Really difficult for him at the moment with the injuries, because under 23 games aren't competitive enough, so they're not good enough really for that. So is it one where he brings a few back? And I would say for me, I think I would do if possible.
Brilliant. Well, guys, thank you very much. And so they say the end is very near, but it is actually here. So I'm going to say thank you both very much for joining us. Julian, as always, a pleasure.
Thanks, guys.
And it's great to have the ex-player view on it, and you talk sense, and it's nice to have somebody on here that talks sense for once.
No, I can't argue that. It's true. Yeah, it's true.
No, I can't argue that either, because I know I don't. That's why I always let the other guys do the talking, because they talk a lot more sense than I ever do. But thanks very much, Julian. And I think it's if you're available next Sunday, that'd be lovely to have you back on again. But I know we play it game by game, but Sheffield United next Sunday, and would be lovely to have you back on again then. But thanks very much, Julian.
That's the wine in my hand, but I'll try and be there.
Jeez, not a problem at all, mate. Take care and stay safe.
See you later, Julian. Take safe.
And Brad.
Take safe. Yeah, and then there was two.
Take care, stay well. Yeah, I will see you on Thursday night.
Yes, I will. Hopefully, we'll be talking a bit more cheerful, a bit more positive. Be nice.
Yeah, well, we can but hope. But I will see you on Thursday. Take care, mate.
I should see you then. Take care. Take care, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yep. And thanks to all you guys for joining in. It's been a busy one tonight. We've gone on a long time, and it's great because, you've been throwing in a lot more questions and a lot more comments, which means we've got a lot more to talk about. So it's been great to have those comments on. So thanks for joining in, guys. It's been brilliant as always. Please remember, please subscribe. We're not far off 200 subscriptions on YouTube. We'd love to get to the 200 as quickly as possible. And if you are subscribed and you're watching tomorrow, as long as you're subscribed before the show starts tomorrow, you go into the draw. I don't know if you remember, but I'll just remind you to win a copy of Barry Beerpoint's Minding My Own Football Business. He was our first chief executive during the 90s. Bit of a Marmite figure. Love him, hate him, with the Martin O'Neill era. I got my copy come through today. He'd signed it all for me, and he will sign this and put a message in for you as well. But you do need to be subscribed to the Leicester Till I Die TV channel on YouTube. So make sure you do that before the show starts tomorrow, because once the show starts, that will be it. And you can, of course, if you've missed any of tonight's show or any of the old shows, you can catch us on the YouTube channel. And if you prefer not to look at us, and I don't know why it would be, but I can't blame you, I guess. But if you prefer not to look at us, you soon listen to us. Your favourite podcast site, Spotify, Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, Anchor, you'll get us on there. And you can listen to us as a podcast. I'll be back tomorrow night along with along with Craig at 7:30, when we will be looking ahead to the Sheffield United game and hopefully getting us back on winning ways. Thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed tonight. Really, really thank you so much for all your comments and joining in. Remember, whatever you do, don't do anything that I wouldn't enjoy. Take care now. Stay safe. Goodbye.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye, and see you next time.
Shut up and sit down.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You'd better like them too, or I'll be back.